Ah, welcome back. You beautiful, unbreakable enigmas. Yeah, you. The ones they've been analyzing, dissecting, trying desperately to decode for months, maybe years now. You know what's happening right now, don't you? In offices across the world, therapists are leaning back in their chairs, flipping through case files with your name on them, and they're all asking the same question. Why can't we break this one? Why doesn't the usual pattern apply here? What is it about this person that makes them immune? Because that's what you become, isn't it? Immune. Not to pain. No, you've felt every single cut, every betrayal, every moment of isolation they orchestrated to destroy you, but immune to breaking. Immune to staying down. Immune to becoming the shattered mess they predicted you'd be by now. And that right there is what's keeping them up at night. Not your anger, not your success, not even your transformation, but your refusal to collapse according to their timeline. They sent toxic people into your life, like viruses into a system, expecting the usual symptoms. Shut down, meltdown, permanent damage. But instead, you adapted. You evolved. You built antibodies they've never seen before in any textbook. And now they're scrambling, holding emergency sessions, comparing notes, because you represent something their entire framework can't explain. A soul that metabolizes poison into fuel. Let me tell you what's really happening in those therapy offices. They're not studying you out of academic curiosity. They're studying you because you're a threat to everything they thought they understood about human breaking points. You walked through manipulation that should have rewired your trust forever. You survived gaslighting that should have shattered your sense of reality. You endured isolation that should have made you desperate for any connection, even toxic ones. But you didn't beg. You didn't break. You didn't come crawling back. And that is the anomaly that's rewriting their entire understanding of psychological resilience. Because you're not just surviving, you're thriving in a way that violates every prediction they made about your collapse. So yeah, they're studying you, and they're terrified of what they're finding. You want to know what the files say? Let me paint you a picture of what these professionals are documenting. Subject exhibits unusual resistance to standard manipulation tactics, narcissistic abuse protocols ineffective, gaslighting attempts recognized and rejected in real time. Isolation strategy backfired, subject appears stronger in solitude. Emotional blackmail fails to generate expected guilt response. Love bombing generates suspicion rather than attachment. Trauma bonding unsuccessful. Subject has developed what appears to be an internal validation system independent of external input. And then there's the part that really breaks their brains. Subject shows no signs of Stockholm Syndrome, no codependency formation, no people-pleasing behaviors, no fawning response. Subject appears to have completely rewired their nervous system's threat response. Where is the fear? Where is the desperation? Where is the need for closure that we can exploit? It's not there. It's like you looked at their entire playbook and said, cute, but no. They tried everything, didn't they? The hot and cold treatment that usually creates addiction. You recognized the pattern and walked away mid-cycle. The silent treatment that normally breaks people down. You enjoyed the peace, the triangulation that should have made you compete for scraps of attention. You removed yourself from the competition entirely. The future faking that typically creates false hope. You stopped listening to words and started watching actions. Every tactic that's worked on millions of people just slid off you like water off steel. And the therapists documenting this, they're seeing something they rarely encounter. A person who learned the game so thoroughly, they stopped playing altogether. You didn't just develop boundaries, you developed an entirely new operating system. One that recognizes manipulation the moment it enters the room, before it even opens its mouth. Here's what really disturbs them in their analysis. You're not angry in the way damaged people usually are. You're not bitter. You're not seeking revenge. You're not even trying to expose these toxic people to others. You've reached a level of detachment they usually only see in people after decades of therapy, and you got there on your own, in the darkness, with no guide except your own pain. You turned your nervous system into a manipulation detector. And the most unsettling part of their findings, you're happy. Genuinely, authentically happy in your solitude. They kept waiting for the loneliness to break you, for the isolation to send you running back to toxic comfort. But you found something in that silence they never expected you'd find. Yourself. The real one. Not the version you performed for approval, not the diminished one you became to make others comfortable, but the raw, unfiltered, unstoppable version that was buried under years of conditioning. They wrote in their notes, "Subject appears to prefer isolation over connection with incompatible individuals, shows no signs of desperation, demonstrates unusual comfort with uncertainty, exhibits traits of extreme self-reliance." And then in the margins, scribbled in frustration, how did they become this without professional intervention? Because that's what really gets them. You did this alone. You healed in the dark. You rebuilt yourself in silence. Let's talk about what was supposed to happen, shall we? Because there's a pattern, a reliable, documented pattern of how toxic people break their targets, and you were supposed to follow it. First, they isolate you, cutting you off from support systems, making you dependent on them for reality checks and emotional validation. Then they destabilize your sense of self through constant criticism disguised as concern. Gaslighting disguised as care until you can't trust your own perceptions anymore. Next comes the intermittent reinforcement, the random rewards and punishments that create a trauma bond stronger than any healthy relationship you've ever had. Your brain gets addicted to the unpredictability, the highs and lows, the hope that maybe this time they'll be consistent, and finally, the complete erosion of your boundaries, your identity, your sense of worth, until you're a shell of who you used to be, grateful for crumbs of basic human decency. That was the plan. That was the pattern, and it works consistently on most people, but not on you. Somewhere in that process, something unexpected happened. Instead of fragmenting under the pressure, you crystallized. Instead of losing yourself in their chaos, you found yourself in the silence between their manipulations. Instead of becoming addicted to their validation, you became allergic to their presence. They isolated you. And you learned that solitude isn't loneliness, it's clarity. They gaslit you, and you started documenting everything, trusting your own records over their rewritten history. They gave you intermittent reinforcement, and your brain said, "This is unstable, abort, find consistency elsewhere." They tried to erode your boundaries, and you built walls so high they'd need a ladder made of genuine change to even approach you. And genuine change isn't in their vocabulary. What the therapists are documenting is the breakdown of the breakdown pattern. You were supposed to internalize their criticism, but instead you externalized it, recognized it as projection, and handed it back to them. You were supposed to chase their approval, but instead you withdrew yours, and suddenly they were the ones performing. You were supposed to doubt your reality, but instead you started questioning theirs, and everything they said began to sound hollow. Here's the technical term they're using in their case files: malignant resilience. It's what happens when someone doesn't just survive abuse, but transmutes it into immunity. You didn't develop coping mechanisms, you developed a completely new psychological architecture. One that recognizes emotional manipulation the way an immune system recognizes a virus it's seen before, instantly, automatically, with no conscious effort required. They tried to break you the way they'd broken others, but your breaking point wasn't where they thought it would be. In fact, you didn't have a breaking point at all. You had a transformation point. A moment where the pressure didn't shatter you. It forged you into something harder, sharper, completely resistant to their methods. And now they're studying that moment, trying to pinpoint exactly when the pattern failed. Was it the first time you called out the gaslighting? The moment you stopped explaining yourself to people who weren't listening anyway? The day you realized their opinion of you was just their projection? Or was it earlier, some quiet moment of clarity where you saw the game and decided you'd rather lose their version of love than win a rigged competition? They're searching through the timeline, looking for the exact second you became unreachable. But here's what they'll never find in their analysis, because it can't be documented or measured. It wasn't one moment. It was 1,000 small decisions to choose your sanity over their comfort. 1,000 times you bit your tongue instead of defending yourself to people who already decided you were guilty. 1,000 silent mornings where you chose to trust your gut, even when everyone around you said you were wrong. So what exactly did you develop that makes you immune? Let's break down the psychological defense system you built without even realizing it. First, pattern recognition on a level that borders on precognition. You can feel manipulation before it fully forms. Someone starts a sentence and you already know where it's going, what emotional response they're fishing for, what narrative they're trying to construct. You don't even let them finish anymore. Second, emotional detachment from outcomes involving people who've proven themselves unstable. They can rage, cry, beg, threaten, promise, whatever performance they choose, and your nervous system barely registers it. Not because you don't care about humans, but because you've categorized them as unreliable narrators. Their emotions are real to them, sure, but they're not your responsibility to fix, manage, or absorb. You've built a firewall between their chaos and your peace. Third, and this is the one that really confuses the professionals, you've developed an almost supernatural ability to be okay with being misunderstood. Most people crack under the pressure of false narratives, the need to defend themselves, to set the record straight. But you let them believe whatever story helps them sleep at night. You've realized that people committed to misunderstanding you will never be convinced by your truth anyway. Fourth, your validation source moved internal. You stopped checking other people's faces to see if you were acceptable, stopped monitoring tones for signs of disapproval, stopped performing for an audience that would never applaud anyway. You became your own measuring stick, and suddenly their opinions became background noise. Pleasant when positive, irrelevant when negative, but never the determining factor in your self-worth. Fifth, comfort with uncertainty that most people never achieve. You don't need to know what's coming next. You don't need guarantees, promises, or 5-year plans from people who can't keep a commitment for 5 days. You've learned to move through life like water, adapting to whatever container you're in without losing your essential nature. And that fluidity, that's what makes you impossible to trap. Here's what the case studies are showing. When toxic people encounter someone with this level of immunity, they escalate. They try harder, go darker, pull out tactics that worked on everyone else. But each escalation just confirms your initial assessment. Each manipulation attempt strengthens your resolve. Each lie clarifies your truth. They're essentially training you to be even more resilient every time they attack. The therapists are documenting what they call reverse conditioning. Usually, abuse conditions people to be more compliant, more desperate, more willing to accept unacceptable behavior. But in your case, each boundary violation made you more certain of your boundaries. Each lie made you more committed to truth. Each betrayal made you more selective about trust. You didn't become what they tried to make you. You became the opposite. And here's the part that's really breaking their analytical models. You're not hardened in a way that makes you cruel or closed off. You didn't become them. You didn't adopt their tactics. You didn't turn into a manipulator yourself. You just became clear. Crystal clear about what you will and won't accept, who deserves access to you, what your energy is worth. You maintained your humanity while developing immunity to inhumanity. They keep trying to fit you into existing frameworks. Is this avoidant attachment? No. You're capable of deep connection with safe people. Is this antisocial behavior? No, you have empathy and ethics. Is this trauma response? Partially, but it's integrated trauma, process trauma, trauma that became wisdom instead of wounds. You don't fit their boxes because you built your own category, functional independence. Now we arrive at the moment that's causing crisis meetings in therapeutic communities. The moment they realize that you're not just an anomaly, you're evidence that their entire approach might be backwards, because here's what your existence proves. Maybe the goal isn't to help people tolerate toxic relationships better. Maybe the goal is to help people recognize toxicity faster and leave without guilt. You didn't need years of therapy to process what happened. You needed distance and silence. You didn't need someone to help you understand the narcissist's childhood wounds. You needed permission to stop caring about their excuses. You didn't need coping strategies to manage their behavior. You needed validation that walking away wasn't giving up, it was growing up. And you gave yourself all of that without a single session. The professionals studying you are having to confront something uncomfortable. What if resilience isn't about bouncing back into situations that break you? What if it's about having the intelligence to never return to what broke you in the first place? What if the healthiest response to toxic people isn't understanding them better, but understanding yourself well enough to choose differently? You've become a case study in something they're calling radical self-prioritization. You looked at the choice between your peace and their presence, and chose your peace without hesitation. You looked at the choice between their version of love and your version of sanity, and chose sanity. You looked at the choice between being liked by everyone and being respected by yourself, and chose self-respect. And here's what's really revolutionary about your approach. You didn't make these choices from a place of anger or revenge. You made them from a place of clarity and self-preservation. You didn't cut people off to hurt them. You cut them off to heal yourself. You didn't go no contact as punishment. You went no contact as protection. The lack of malice in your boundaries is what makes them so unshakable. The toxic people in your past, they keep testing those boundaries, don't they? Sending messages months later, showing up in your periphery, trying to trigger a reaction, any reaction. Because your silence drives them insane. And every time they reach out, you demonstrate something the therapists are taking notes on: emotional non-reaction. You don't block in anger, you just don't engage. You don't respond with paragraphs of pain, you just don't respond. What they're learning from observing you is that true healing looks nothing like what they expected. You're not telling your story to everyone who'll listen. You're not seeking validation through support groups. You're not even particularly interested in understanding why they did what they did. You've reached a level of acceptance that doesn't require explanation. They were toxic. You removed them, life improved, end of story. This is causing a fundamental shift in therapeutic approaches, because if someone like you can heal completely through self-awareness, boundaries, and selective solitude, what does that say about the traditional model? Maybe people don't need to process every trauma. Maybe some things are better left unprocessed and simply removed. Maybe closure isn't having a final conversation, it's having the final word internally and moving forward. You've proven something dangerous to the entire system of trauma recovery. You've proven that you can go from victim to victor without ever confronting your abuser, without getting the apology, without them ever acknowledging what they did. You healed in their absence, not through their acknowledgement. And that takes all the power away from the idea that you need anything from them to move on. The case files on you keep using words like unprecedented and atypical. Unprecedented speed of recovery, atypical lack of residual damage. They expected you to have trust issues, and you do, but healthy ones. You trust selectively now, not blindly. They expected you to have relationship problems, and you do, but productive ones. You have problems with bad relationships, which you solve by not having them. They expected you to carry the weight of what happened, and you did, but only long enough to learn from it. Then you set it down. They expected you to need validation from the people who hurt you, but you found something better. Validation from the person who survived them. They expected you to spend years in therapy unpacking every moment, but you spent months in solitude and came out clearer than people who've been in therapy for decades. Here's where it gets really interesting. You've become a threat, not to individuals, but to entire systems built on keeping people trapped in toxic dynamics. Because every time you choose yourself, you make it harder for others to accept less. Every time you walk away from something that looks good but feels wrong, you give someone else permission to do the same. Your boundaries aren't just protecting you, they're raising the standard for everyone watching. The toxic people who couldn't break you, they're not just confused, they're threatened, because their entire identity is built on their ability to manipulate, control, dominate. And you looked at their resume of destruction and said, impressive, but I'm not interested. You didn't fight them, didn't try to change them, didn't waste energy trying to make them see what they did wrong. You just left. And that departure was more devastating than any argument could have been. Because walking away without anger, without drama, without a final confrontation that gives them ammunition, that's the ultimate power move. They have no narrative to spin. No screenshots of you losing control. No evidence of you being crazy like they told everyone you were. You just faded into a life they're not part of, and the silence is eating them alive because it means they didn't matter enough for you to fight for or against. The therapists studying this phenomenon are documenting what they call the mirror effect. When someone encounters your level of immunity, they're forced to confront themselves. They can't blame you for reacting because you didn't react. They can't say you're too sensitive because you weren't affected. They can't claim you're unstable because you're the most stable thing in the room. So they're left looking at their own reflection, and most of them can't handle it. You know what the most powerful part of your transformation is? You're not waiting for karma. You're not tracking their lives to see if they got what they deserved. You're not telling everyone who'll listen about what happened. You've reached a level of disinterest in your abusers that's more powerful than hatred, because hatred means you still care. Indifference means you've moved so far beyond them that they're irrelevant. The professional community is struggling with how to classify this. Is it healthy detachment or emotional avoidance? But the results speak for themselves. You're thriving. You're peaceful. You sleep well at night. You don't have anxiety attacks when you see things that remind you of them. You don't check their social media. You don't ask mutual friends about them. They've become ghosts of a past life you barely remember, and that amnesia is intentional. What you've done is rewrite the entire narrative of trauma recovery. The old model said you need to forgive to move on. You moved on without forgiving. The old model said you need closure. You created closure internally. The old model said time heals all wounds. You proved that boundaries heal wounds and time just passes. You've become evidence that the conventional wisdom about healing is incomplete. And this is why you're being studied so intensely. Because if your method becomes mainstream, entire industries collapse. If people learn they can heal themselves through radical self-prioritization, who needs years of therapy? If people learn they can set boundaries without guilt, who stays in toxic relationships? If people learn they can walk away from anything that doesn't serve them, who stays subscribed to suffering? You're not just immune to toxic people, you're immune to the entire cultural narrative that says you have to tolerate, understand, forgive, and maintain connection with people who hurt you. You looked at that narrative and said, or I could just not. And that simple rejection of the expected path has made you dangerous to anyone who profits from people staying small, staying hurt, staying stuck. The case studies on you are being presented at conferences. Professionals are debating whether your recovery model is replicable or whether you're just an outlier. But here's what they're missing. You're not special because you have some rare genetic gift. You're special because you made a choice most people are too afraid to make. The choice to be okay with being alone rather than tolerated. The choice to rebuild from scratch rather than renovate a condemned building. Let's talk about what you've become, because this is where the research gets really compelling. You didn't just survive and move on. You evolved into something that didn't exist before the pressure. Like carbon under extreme conditions becomes diamond. You transformed under the weight of toxicity into something harder, clearer, more valuable. And the properties of this new version of you are fascinating. First property, transparency, without vulnerability. You're open about what you've been through, but sharing doesn't cost you anything emotionally. You can talk about your past like it happened to someone else, because in a way, it did. The person who tolerated that treatment is dead. You're the phoenix, and phoenixes don't get triggered by the ashes they rose from. You can walk through fire now and not even feel warm. Second property, selective permeability. You're not closed off to connection, but you're incredibly selective about who gets access. Like a cell membrane that only lets certain substances through, you've developed filters so sophisticated they work automatically. Toxic people can't even get close enough to attempt manipulation because something in your energy field repels them before conscious thought kicks in. Third property, emotional alchemy. You've learned to transmute negative experiences into fuel. Every betrayal became a lesson in discernment. Every lie became practice in reading between lines. Every manipulation attempt became data for your pattern recognition system. You're not holding on to pain, you're composting it, turning it into rich soil for growth. And the garden you're cultivating in that soil is spectacular. Fourth property, outcome independence. You're no longer attached to specific results in your interactions with people. They can love you, hate you, misunderstand you, whatever. Your peace doesn't depend on their perception. You've decoupled your worth from external validation so completely that compliments and criticisms land with the same emotional weight. None. You hear them, process them, and move on. Fifth property, strategic visibility. You're not hiding, but you're not performing either. You share what you want, when you want, with who you want. You've mastered the art of being publicly present while remaining privately protected. People can see you, but they can't reach you unless you extend that invitation. And you revoke invitations the moment someone proves they can't respect the access. The researchers studying your evolution are documenting what happens when someone commits fully to personal sovereignty. You're not rebelling against anything. You're not fighting for independence. You're simply operating from a place of such deep self-trust that external chaos can't penetrate. You become what they call anti-fragile. You don't just resist damage, you improve because of challenges. Every toxic person who came into your life thinking they could use you, control you, diminish you, they all became teachers in a curriculum you didn't sign up for but mastered anyway. And the degree you earned from that dark university, immunity, clarity, and an ability to spot manipulation before it introduces itself. You graduated with honors from the School of Hard Boundaries. What's really remarkable in the clinical observations is how quickly you can now assess people. Conversation 1, data collection. Conversation 2, pattern analysis. Conversation 3, decision made. You don't need months to see someone's character anymore. You can read the signs in how they talk about exes, how they treat service workers, how they respond when you set a small boundary. The red flags aren't flags anymore, they're sirens. And you've developed something the professionals are calling compassionate detachment. You can understand why toxic people are the way they are. You can feel empathy for their wounds, you can acknowledge their pain, and still choose not to be their healing journey. You can wish them well from a distance so great they can't even see you on the horizon. You've learned that understanding someone doesn't mean accepting their behavior. The evolution didn't stop at immunity. You've become actively allergic to dysfunction now. Situations that used to feel normal now feel suffocating within minutes. People who used to seem charming now seem exhausting within seconds. Dynamics that used to be familiar now feel foreign and unacceptable. Your tolerance for anything less than authentic, healthy, reciprocal connection has dropped to zero. What the case files show is a complete rewiring of your relationship template. You're not looking for someone to complete you anymore because you completed yourself. You're not looking for someone to save you because you became your own hero. You're not looking for someone to validate you because you validated yourself. You're looking for someone to match you, and the bar is so high now that most people can't see it, let alone reach it. But here's where your transformation becomes bigger than just you. Every person who's watched you walk away from toxicity without looking back, they're questioning their own situations now. Every person who's seen you thrive in solitude, they're reconsidering whether they really need the connections draining them. Every person who's witnessed your boundaries, they're wondering if they're allowed to have some too. You've become a permission slip for others to choose themselves. And that's what makes you dangerous to the established order. Because toxic systems rely on people believing they have to stay, they have to forgive, they have to give endless chances. But you're walking proof that you don't have to do anything except protect your peace and watch your life improve. The professionals are tracking what they call the contagion of self-respect. People who interact with you, even briefly, start setting boundaries in their own lives. They start questioning relationships they've tolerated for years. They start prioritizing their mental health over other people's comfort. You're not even telling them to do these things. They're just watching you exist in your power and realizing it's possible. Toxic people hate when they lose you, but they're terrified when others start following your lead. Because one person leaving is a loss. Multiple people leaving because they saw someone else do it first. That's a revolution. You're not just immune anymore. You're infectious. You're spreading a virus of self-worth, and it's absolutely devastating to anyone who profits from low self-esteem. The case studies are documenting this ripple effect. Subjects' former connections report increased boundary-setting behaviors within 6 months of subjects' departure. Mutual friends demonstrate higher standards in relationships. Family members show reduced tolerance for dysfunction. The sphere of influence extends approximately 3 degrees of separation. Translation: you walking away didn't just free you, it freed everyone connected to you who was paying attention. And you're not even trying to inspire anyone. You're just living. You're just choosing peace over performance, solitude over settling, growth over comfort. But that quiet revolution is louder than any speech, more powerful than any advice, more impactful than any intervention. You're proof of concept. You're the before and after they needed to see to believe change is possible. The toxic people watching this ripple effect are panicking, because it's one thing to lose their grip on you. It's another thing entirely to watch their entire support system start questioning them. To see people who used to enable them suddenly setting boundaries, to feel their supply sources drying up because everyone's learning the same lessons you learned. You didn't take revenge. You just removed yourself and the dominoes started falling naturally. Here's what the research is showing about long-term impacts. People who witness someone successfully exit a toxic dynamic are 73% more likely to recognize similar patterns in their own lives within a year. They're 68% more likely to take action to change those patterns, and they're 81% more likely to maintain boundaries once set. You're not just a case study, you're a catalyst for collective awakening. The professionals studying you are realizing that healing isn't always individual. Sometimes one person's breakthrough creates a template, others can follow. Your recovery isn't happening in isolation. It's happening in community. Even if that community is just people watching from a distance and thinking, if they can do it, maybe I can too. You've become the proof they needed, that the cage door was never locked. What's revolutionary about your impact is that you're not preaching. You're not posting motivational quotes. You're not writing self-help books or starting a movement. You're just living a life aligned with your values. And that alignment is so rare, so magnetic, so powerful that people can't help but gravitate toward it. You're not trying to change anyone, you're just refusing to shrink, and that refusal is changing everything. The therapists are documenting what happens in the wake of your departure from toxic spaces. Power dynamics shift. Truth comes out. Masks slip. People who seemed strong reveal their fragility. People who seemed weak reveal their strength. It's like you were a load-bearing wall in a structure built on lies. And when you left, the whole building had to restructure or collapse. They let you go. They pushed you aside like you were nothing. No, like they didn't even see the power you had. Well, guess what? Let them enjoy the silence. Because time doesn't forget, and it never forgives. You think they've won? Think again. You're not the one who's lost. Nah, you were the storm they never saw coming. And now time's on your side. You walked away with nothing but a smirk. They thought they could replace you. They thought you'd crumble. But time's gonna do what they never could. Time will crush them with their own regret. They think they're free now. They think they're untouchable. But nah, time doesn't let anyone off the hook. Time's got a way of making sure they feel every second of what they lost. The clock is ticking, and it's ticking for them. While they sleep, oblivious, you're rising, you're growing, you're becoming something they'll never have. You're the shadow they'll never escape. And every minute that passes, it's one more reminder that they blew it. Time doesn't need your help. It'll work its magic on them. And when they finally realize their mistake, it'll be too late. You'll be long gone, soaring higher than they could have ever imagined. Let them choke on their own decisions. You don't need them. Time never forgets. And it's about to make sure they never forget you either. They saw you as disposable, just another face in the crowd, another name to forget, another moment to use and throw away. You were never supposed to matter. You were just something they could take or leave. Nah, they didn't know what they were playing with. They treated you like a placeholder, like you were nothing more than a pause in their chaos. They thought you'd always be there, standing by, waiting for them to come back. But here's the thing, you weren't. You were never just an option. You were the prize they took for granted. They underestimated you. They thought they could pick and choose when you mattered, like you were a game piece to be moved around, to be discarded when they were bored. They thought they could replace you. But what they didn't know is that you were never the disposable one. You were the anchor, the one that held them steady when their world was falling apart. But they never appreciated that. They thought they could let you slip away like it was nothing. But nah, now they're drowning. Here's the shocking truth. They were the disposable ones. Their arrogance, their pride, their sense of entitlement, it's all crashing down. The moment they pushed you aside, they sealed their own fate. Now they're the ones who'll be forgotten. They let you slip away? Fine, but trust me, they're gonna feel the void you left behind. That emptiness, that's them realizing they lost something real. And you're out here thriving. You're the one who walks away unshaken, untouchable. And when they look back, all they'll see is the shadow you left behind. They were never in control. You were always the one they needed. At first it feels like freedom for them. For you, it's something else. They walk away thinking they've escaped, thinking they've won. They're celebrating their little victory, feeling like they've finally cut the cord. Nah, they don't know the half of it. They think they're free from you, But really, you've been setting them up for the fall the entire time. They think they got what they wanted, a clean break, a fresh start. They think they're rid of you, that the weight has been lifted. But that's the illusion. They're not free. They're running toward their own destruction. You let them walk away knowing exactly what would happen. You gave them the rope, and now they're hanging themselves with it. They think they've outrun you. They think they've gotten away with treating you like an option. But you knew all along this was the beginning of their downfall. For them, it was a clean slate, a moment of peace. But for you, it was never about revenge. It was about letting them think they got away, letting them enjoy the calm before the storm. They think the game's over, but nah. You were the one controlling the pieces all along. They're just too blind to see it. Now, as the storm brews, they'll finally understand. It was never their victory. It was always yours. You've been winning this war from the moment they walked away, and they'll regret it. At first, they don't notice. They're too busy celebrating their freedom. Too caught up in their victory dance, thinking everything's just fine. They don't realize that with every second, you're moving further from them. But then, it starts to haunt them, little by little. At first, it's just a whisper, a thought that creeps into their mind when they're alone. What if? But they brush it off, too proud to acknowledge the void that's starting to grow inside them. They thought they were fine, but the truth? It's already eating them alive. As the days go on, they begin to feel it. Your absence, the silence you left behind. They try to ignore it, distract themselves, fill the space with something, anything. But nothing fits, nothing feels right. They realize the mistake they made, but it's already too late to fix it. The damage is done. They try to reach out, but their desperation is obvious. And you're too far gone to even bother with them. The door's closed. The path is blocked. They can see the walls they built between you two, but now it's too late to tear them down. They can see it now, the change, the one they couldn't stop. You've leveled up, moved on, grown, and they're left behind, stuck in the mess they created. They see it, but they can't touch it. They can't reverse the damage. They can't fix what they broke. And every step you take further away from them, it's a reminder of what they let slip through their fingers. You were the best thing they had, and now you're a ghost they can never bring back. Regret is a beast, and it doesn't come in a rush. Nah, it doesn't storm in, all loud and in your face. It creeps, it crawls, it slithers in quietly, like a whisper in the dark. At first, it's just an itch, a nagging feeling that they try to ignore. Nah, it's nothing, they tell themselves. I'm fine. But deep down, it's already starting to eat away at their soul. They think they can shake it off. They think they can move forward, leaving you behind like you were never anything. But they can't. Regret doesn't forget. It doesn't let them forget you. And with every passing day, it grows, slowly, steadily. The itch becomes unbearable. It digs deeper. At first, it's just a thought that pops up randomly. What if I hadn't done that? What if I hadn't let them slip away? But those questions aren't innocent anymore. Nah, they're the seeds of something darker. The more they try to push it away, the more it claws at them. It starts to control their thoughts, their actions. Everything they do is colored by the shadow of that regret. And it gets worse. Every time they try to forget you, every time they distract themselves with someone else, with something else, that monster grows stronger. The more they run, the tighter it grips. The more they tell themselves they're fine, the more it eats them alive. They thought they could move on without you, thought they could replace you with someone new, with something different. But regret isn't something you can outrun. It's there, always lurking, always feeding, until one day they realize the truth. They'll never escape the monster they created. They let you go, fine, but now they have to live with that beast, and no matter how hard they try, no matter how much time passes, it will never let them go. They were too blinded by their own pride, too caught up in their own world to ever see your potential. They thought you were nothing without them, thought you'd crumble the moment they left. But then something happened. They started to see you thriving. It didn't happen all at once. Nah, they probably heard about it first. Your name mentioned in passing, your success whispered in the wind. At first they didn't care. Nah, it's nothing, they told themselves. But deep down, that itch was back. The one they couldn't scratch. The one they couldn't ignore. And then they saw it. They saw you, rising, more powerful, more unstoppable, growing in ways they never imagined. And suddenly, everything changed. They couldn't hide from it anymore. The truth hit them like a freight train. The assumptions they had about you shattered in an instant. They thought you were weak, but they were wrong. They thought you needed them, but the truth is, you never did. They thought they could walk away and you'd stay stuck, but nah. You're out here thriving, and now they're stuck in the past. They're clinging to a version of you that no longer exists. They're drowning in their own mistakes, caught in the past they created, while you're living your future. Every step you take is further away from them. Every success you achieve is a reminder of what they lost. They thought they could walk away and leave you behind, but now they realize they were never in control. You were always the one who held the power, and they're the ones who will forever be haunted by the vision of your success. It starts slow, a whisper in their mind. Maybe, just maybe, they can reach out. Maybe, just maybe, you'll still be there. After all, they tell themselves, it's been a while, time has passed, you've probably softened. Maybe you'll listen now. So they try, they reach out, cautiously at first, a message, a call, something simple, a question, a reason, a way in. They test the waters, waiting for you to respond, but nah. What they don't know is that the door's already closed, and it's locked from the inside. They think they can push their way back in. They think they can pick up the pieces they broke, that they can just walk in like nothing happened, but they couldn't be more wrong. You've moved on. And not just moved on from them, moved on from the old version of you. The version that was desperate for attention, for validation, for someone who couldn't see your worth. You're not that person anymore. You've transformed into someone who doesn't look back. The more they reach out, the more they feel the cold, impenetrable wall they've built around you. It's not that you're angry anymore. Nah, it's worse than that. It's that you've grown indifferent. You've stepped into a world where they no longer exist. You've left them in the past where they belong. The cruel reality begins to sink in. They're stuck in the mistakes they made, stuck in the space they abandoned, stuck in the remnants of what was. While you're building something new, something better, something they'll never be a part of again. They want to go back, but they can't. They can feel the desperation rising in their chest, the panic setting in, the cold sweat on their skin as they realize just how far gone they are. They cannot return. The doors they slammed shut when they walked away are now sealed tight, and you hold the key. It's too late for apologies, too late for What ifs, too late for second chances. Because while they're stuck looking at the shattered fragments of the past, you've already left them behind. They gambled with your presence, and now they're losing. Don't let nostalgia fool you. Nah, it's just a trick. A poison wrapped in a pretty bow. They're not missing you. They're missing the old version of you. The one who would have taken them back with open arms. The one who would have forgiven their mistakes. The one who thought they were worth fighting for. But that version of you, she's gone. She's long dead. Buried under the weight of the lessons you've learned, the pain you've endured, the strength you've built, and the cold truth they'll never face is that the person they want back doesn't exist anymore. The temptation to forgive, to forget, to open up that door again, it'll whisper in your ear. It'll say, maybe they've changed, maybe they've learned, maybe it's worth it. But no, don't listen. The person they want isn't the person you are now. You've leveled up. You've become someone they'll never recognize, someone they'll never have access to again. And the hardest pill they'll ever swallow? You're not in their league anymore. You've worked too hard to get to where you are. You've battled your demons, pushed through the hell they left you in, and come out stronger. And they're still stuck in the same place. They haven't changed. They're still the same people who let you go. The same ones who didn't recognize your worth. And now they want a second chance? Nah. Let them stay where they belong, in the past. Not the same. You're stronger, you're wiser, and most importantly, you've learned how to protect your peace. Don't let them back in. Don't let their guilt, their desperation, or their nostalgia trick you into thinking they deserve another shot. Because they don't. They had their chance, and they blew it. You've already moved on, and the person you've become, they're never going to be a part of it. You've leveled up, and they're still stuck in the shadows, desperately clawing at a version of you that no longer exists. They'll keep playing the what-if game, the endless cycle. What if they hadn't walked away? What if they had fought for you? What if they'd seen your value when they had the chance? They'll spend sleepless nights, caught in their own heads, wondering what could have been. They'll keep chasing those what-ifs, trying to rewrite history. But the truth? It doesn't matter anymore. The moment they chose to let you go, they sealed their fate. And now, time will make sure they never forget it. With every day that passes, that regret will grow heavier, more suffocating. It will chase them like a shadow they can't outrun. At first, it's just an itch, a subtle reminder of their mistake. But then it starts to gnaw at them, slowly, relentlessly. It eats at their conscience until it becomes unbearable. They'll see you moving on. They'll see you thriving. And with every success you claim, their guilt will grow, darker, deeper, and more consuming. As they watch you rise higher with every passing day, they'll be reminded of their own stagnation. They'll be stuck in the past, watching you leave them in the dust with nothing but regret as their companion. The more they see you accomplish, the more they'll realize they had the chance to stand by your side. They had the chance to be a part of your journey, to share in the victories. But they chose to walk away, and now they're stuck with the consequences. Time doesn't forgive. It doesn't erase the pain. It doesn't allow for second chances. Every moment that passes, every achievement you unlock will force them to confront what they lost. The weight of their choices will crush them, and they'll never be able to escape the truth that they let you slip through their fingers, and there's nothing they can do about it now. Your future, it was never meant to include them. Nah. It was never meant for those who couldn't recognize your worth, your power, your potential. You were always meant for more. You were always destined to soar higher, to break barriers, to leave them in the dust. And now they're just a memory, a chapter in your story that's been closed, sealed, and thrown away. Let them watch from the sidelines. Let them sit in their regret, trying to piece together the fragments of a past they destroyed. Let them burn in their own guilt, their own shame. Let them feel the weight of their mistake with every passing day. Every success of yours they can't reach. You don't owe them anything. Not an explanation, not a second chance, not even a glance. Your future is yours alone. You've earned it. You've fought for it. You've risen from the ashes of your past, and nothing is going to stop you now. So keep moving forward. Don't look back. Don't waste another second on the ones who couldn't see your worth. They had their shot and they blew it, and that will be their eternal punishment. Their mistake will haunt them forever. The moment they let you go, they lock themselves out of the life you're about to live. They'll never have access to it. They'll never share in your victories. They'll never stand in your light. And you'll never look back. You'll keep moving forward toward the future you've built, the future they'll never be a part of. So let them watch, let them feel the weight of their regrets, because while they're stuck in the past, you're writing your future, and they'll never ever get the chance to be a part of it again.